Good morning and welcome back to the ward in France, Escape from Rural France. For the first time this year, I'm managing to sit outside, even though it's quite chilly, but the sun is out. We've got a brief respite from the rain, so 24 hours or so for the ground to do a little bit of drying out before it hits us again this week. Mabel, as you can see there, is interested to come out, but the chasse are on their final hurrah today, so they are causing absolute mayhem. They're a bit quiet at the moment, but can't have the dogs out until lunchtime. And then they have to stay in again until about after 5 o'clock when they've finally finished their final chasse of the season, I hope. Thank you to the new 5 subscribers this week. It's really nice that I can say every week thank you to new subscribers. It's brilliant. I'm really pleased that the numbers are growing and growing. On number 37, I turned my YouTube analytics on and I saw it go from 36 to 37. So I sat there thinking, 38's coming, 38's coming, 38's coming. And I sat there and I watched and I waited and it's like 38 didn't come. But 37, thank you to the subscribers that have come in on board this week. It's lovely to have you. I hope that you will continue to watch and to like and share. Not subscribe because you already have, but any new ones, I'm still not being able to edit because I still haven't resubscribed to the editing suite. But anybody that wants to like, subscribe and share, please do. One of the things I want to say about Escaping from Rural France, why it's becoming one of those sort of can't wait to get out of here. Sometimes you're not reminded of things until they happen sort of all at once, and it takes it back to, I'll take it back to when I first moved here 11 years ago. 11 years ago I moved into my house this week, and it's all being packed up into boxes. I'm packing it into boxes. It's I've been doing it since December. It's been nice and sort of slow but sure, and I'm almost on top of it now. When I first moved here 11 years ago, it was one of those things where you had to go out, find your bearings, drive around, get to the supermarkets, get to the bricos, the DIY shops, because there's always lots to do. And you'd just be pootling about in the morning and you'd be enjoying the countryside and just going, oh, this is lovely, this is lovely, this is lovely. And then you'd sort of pootle on down to the shops. And the thing that gets my goat, but back then, it was like, oh, this is really sweet. This is like harkening back to the old days. Lunchtime, everything closed. Everything closed. So you could be, and I was, at one stage, I was in a brico. My trolley was piled high because new house, lots of work to do. So I'd gone to the brico and I was like, oh, I live in France. Look, I'm in a DIY shop in France and I'm buying all of this stuff and it's costing a lot of money, but it's euros, so it doesn't seem like it's a lot of money because it's not pounds. So it felt a bit like Monopoly money that you were spending. And the trolley was full. And just as I was sort of meandering around, all the lights went off. And I'm like, didn't know what that meant. So I carried on meandering around. I was like, okay, I've got what I need to do. Went to the checkout and there was one girl left at the checkout. So I went to the checkout and she said, we're closed. I was like, okay, she said, we're closed. And I was like, at that point, not enough French, apart from I understood what closed was. At that point, it was like, well, okay. So she effectively said, well, she didn't effectively, she said, come back at 2:30. It was midday. She said, come back at 2:30. When you live in the countryside, everything is a drive. There's nowhere that you go that you can just go, I'm going to just nip to the shops down the road and pick up something very quickly, 5-minute walk there, 5-minute walk back. So everyone that lives near a corner shop, you are really, really lucky. You have no idea how lucky you are that you can just nip down to the road for a pint of milk if you run out. Here, it's weekly planning all the time. But at this point, I had all this trolley full of stuff and she refused to put it through the till because it was lunchtime. So I left it there. I never went back because it's then a 20-minute drive home. The day effectively in France gets split into two. There's blooming lunchtime, this lunchtime closing, while it's improved significantly. The supermarkets don't close at lunchtime anymore, but they used to. Until this week. This week, I happened to run out of oil, and I've got an old oil tanker, drum, container, that does not give you any kind of warning when your oil runs out, and my oil supplies my hot water. I don't use the oil for the central heating because it's just so expensive. Again, the first year I lived here, I put the central heating on, and within 3 months, I had used nearly €1,000 worth of oil just to keep the house off cold, not even warm, just off cold. So that was the first and only year that I've used the central heating. So now the oil is just for the hot water. And I went to have a shower, and it was cold, and in February, having a cold shower is just horribly unpleasant. I don't know why people would want to go and do cold water swimming in the winter. What's wrong with them? They could have a heart attack and die, the shock to the system, but that's what people do. So I had a cold shower. I was like, oh, cold shower. I've got to get to the oil. But at that point, I was heading into work. I couldn't do it, but I could do it the next day. And I'd also run out of couch roll for work. So couch roll is the paper that you put across the massage table with each client. I'd run out. So I needed to go to the medical supply store, also in town, to get some of that. But I was working, but it was like I had one client booked in this particular morning. So I was like, okay, I'm going to finish at 11:15. I'll be able to get to the medical supply shop by 12 o'clock because I knew they would close at 12 o'clock. My client was running late. He didn't get in for another half an hour. And I was like, okay, I can still do it. So I was tearing down the roads, and I knew the petrol station was open 24 hours, so I could get my oil from the petrol station. No, I get to the medical supply shop first because I wanted to go there first, and it was closed. They'd closed about 5 minutes previously. All the shutters were down, and they're closed for 2.5 hours. Right. Plan B is I've then got to get up really early the next morning to go into town, which is in the opposite direction to where I have to go to for work, to get to the medical supply shop at 9 o'clock when they open to get couch roll, because I cannot work a single client without couch roll. It's unhygienic. So I was like, okay, I'll go to the petrol station. At least I'll get some oil. And I get to the petrol station, and there's a sign on the door. Found me. Closed until 2:30. Everything. It's like once you've done that trip, you come home, you think, my day is now, I've got all of the commitments that I need to do at home. I haven't got time now to go back into town this afternoon to do all of that stuff. So I'm going to have to go there at first thing in the morning again. Lunchtime closure in France is a nightmare. It used to be, this is so nice, a bit like England when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, that everything closed on a Sunday. You couldn't go anywhere, you couldn't do anything, and everyone was a bit, that's really boring. But here it was like, oh, this is really nice because everyone's forced to do family stuff, nice things. Just it's now so annoying that you actually can't do. They don't understand their 35-hour week. And they don't stagger their lunchtime so that, we'll stay open. For me, lunchtime is peak business. It's peak business for me. I would never close at lunchtime because it's like people come to me all the way through lunchtimes. And I don't understand why businesses still have to have their 2.5 hour lunch breaks. That's one of the reasons why I want to escape from rural France. Because when I move, I'm going to be living, and I'm not telling you where yet, but I'm going to be living in a town centre. And so I'm going to be close to shops that I can just walk to. If I run out of milk, I use Long Life milk. I've used Long Life milk here for 11 years. I like it now. Never used to buy it in England. But here, I use Long Life because it's just not practical to keep going to a supermarket, which is the only place that sells fresh milk. It's not practical to go to a supermarket, and they're hypermarkets, they're big, to walk all the way around to then stand for 10 minutes, 15 minutes at a checkout just to get a pint of milk. So Long Life milk, I might stay with Long Life milk, I don't know yet. It's getting colder, by the way. I might stay with Long Life milk, who knows, don't know. Anyway, that's one of the reasons why I want to escape from rural France. Lunchtime closing, it's a nightmare. So anyone thinking of moving to France, you'll love it for a little while, and then it'll really get on your nerves because it cuts your day in half, and it cuts your day in half significantly. One little rant over. It's a good one, I think. I also want to do an update on what's happening with the cats. I'm already at 10 minutes, so try not to go over too much longer. 5 more went this week. This amazing charity that have stepped in to help have now taken 10. And 5 more went this week, and they didn't go quietly. They didn't want to go. I didn't want to see them go. It was distressing. It took about an hour for them to be into all of the boxes that the charity had come with. But they have gone. The charity have been amazing. They have sent me photographs, told me how their first night was, who's responding to a bit of cuddles and affection. I wanted to say there are still maybe 2 more going tomorrow, and then the charity have said that they will take another 2, so that's another 4, so that's 14. There's actually 6 more to rehome. Another charity is involved, and I have now got 2 weeks to make sure that they are all in safe places. Other than the desire to escape from rural France for all the things that I don't like or are inconvenient, there are also personal reasons why I'm leaving rural France, which I'm not going to put out at this point. I may never. But for anyone that might be thinking, oh, I'm going back and the cats aren't convenient, so I've got to get rid of the cats, it couldn't be further from the truth. I allowed all of these cats into my life, and each and every one of them has been loved, has been cared for, has been fed, and it is gut-wrenching that they cannot come back to England with me. If I was moving into an environment like here, then they would, as many as I could, and I would probably have done everything I could to have taken them all back. But because I'm moving into a town centre with a courtyard garden, it just wouldn't be fair to deprive them of what they've become used to here, which is 2 acres of my garden and then hundreds of acres of woodland surrounding me, where they've just been able to be what they wanted to be. Hello, Hugo. And just live their best life. It's really the hardest thing. And I knew when the decision to move back was made, I knew that this was going to be nothing's for nothing, right? There's always some sort of pleasure and pain. The pleasure of moving back, but that comes with quite a high level of pain, and the pain are my cats. The cats are just beautiful.